Well, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. If you wore green today or have anything crazy on, I did dig out my one green t-shirt that I have. Put on your camera, we want to see. So, give us a little St. Patrick's Day hello. Regardless, hope you guys are enjoying this wonderful spring day and appreciate you joining us here this morning for our March Career Readiness Community of Practice. Today, we're going to talk about parent engagement. And we know that's something that a lot of school districts really struggle with. How do we really communicate and engage with our parents and families? So this is a really important topic. Before we get to that topic though, I want to take a few minutes to share with you some information about a really cool project that we are about to embark on through a collaboration with the Department of Public Instruction, a couple of our CISAs, really all of our CISAs will be participating in one way or another, but we've had CISA 3 and CISA 10 really taking a lead role, as well as our friends over at the Wisconsin Evaluation Collaborative and Milwaukee Succeeds have come together to do a youth voice and career readiness project. We're going to be going out and using surveys and focus group discussions to find out what students really think about career readiness. We spend a lot of time, energy, and frankly, money developing strategies and resources to help graduate our students career ready. This is our opportunity to find out if we're hitting the mark or where we're not hitting the mark or what we can do that will help prepare them even better than what we're doing right now. So again, we'll be doing this through surveys. In the summer, we'll be hosting focus group sessions, both in person and virtually. We'll be working with community organizations, reaching out to our current high school students, as well as our recent grads. And we need your help on this project. The survey is going to launch next month. So beginning of April, we're going to be launching the survey. You're going to start to get some communications, probably as part of my Friday finds. Certainly you'll be hearing from your CISAs about it. Maybe it'll be popping up in a couple of other places. And the ask is really simple. We're really just asking you to share this out with your students. It'll be a link to the survey as well as a flyer to let them know what this is all about. But this is your chance to make sure that your students have a voice in what they need and want most in career readiness as we think as a state about what we need to do going into these next couple of years to really start to move the needle in our implementation and making sure that all students graduate career ready. We especially want to hear from our students that often struggle the most. So really thinking about how you can get this, how you can get your students from different racial and ethnic backgrounds, students with disabilities, students from low-income families to participate in this short survey. Maybe even engaging some of those teachers that work with those students to spend a couple of minutes if they can find time sometime over the month of April to sit down and have a discussion with their students and have them fill out the survey. Otherwise, it's really just quick, easy blasts, text message blasts, things like that to help us get the word out. Our goal is to have 6,000 responses in 60 days. And then we'll be following up with that and doing the focus group sessions over the summer. So really exciting stuff. And next year, we will be sharing the results of this and the strategies that we've developed based on this input with all of you. So stay tuned for that. All right, that's enough about that project. Right now, I'm going to turn things over to our presenters today. We've got Katie and Danny and Jamie, and take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Karen. Good morning, everybody. We're excited to have you here today, and happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. As we get our webinar focusing on parent engagement and career readiness going today, we just want to remind everybody that career readiness is definitely more important than ever. And looking at career readiness through our educator lens, we certainly understand that engaging students in career readiness really helps students find that relevance in what they're learning within the classroom setting, increases that academic motivation, and really help students build that sense of belonging and engagement in their own individualized educational process. Some may argue that career readiness at this point in time is not as important these days, because we know that within many career sectors, jobs are definitely plentiful right now. However, I would argue that we really need to continue to emphasize career readiness more than ever, because career readiness and academic and career planning is really not just about getting a job. It's more than securing a job. It's more about helping students secure a job, enter a career path that supports their personal goals, interests, and talents, and really helping to make sure that they are equipped with the skills necessary to keep and succeed within that job and that career pathway. So despite what's happening around us with the plethora of jobs that are available, career readiness is really so much more. We can go to the next slide. Throughout the Career Readiness Community of Practice webinar series this year, the theme has been that we are all in this together. Each webinar has provided you with the opportunity to hear from a variety of professionals within the education setting who are showcasing a portion of their efforts related to career readiness within their respective school districts. And we have a couple organizations joining us today to share some outstanding tools that you can also utilize to continue to engage parents in your process. You again today will have the opportunity to join a work group to discuss and learn from each other about how we are engaging parents in this career readiness process. And you'll have the opportunity to brainstorm ideas in that breakout session, and then walk away with resources that you can take back to your district and implement within your own processes. Next slide. CTE Without Limits has 5 guiding principles that support the design, vision, implementation, and accessibility for career and technical education. And these principles are equally applicable to career readiness as well. These 5 principles listed on this slide include or help to ensure that each learner engages in career preparation that is cohesive, flexible, and responsive to our individualized students. Make sure that students feel welcome and supported in that career preparation process. Encourages students to navigate their own career journey, and make sure that they are able to recognize the skills that they have developed, know that those skills are valued in the workplace, and also are transferable from one job or career to another. And we also want to make sure that our programming provides equal access and opportunities to all students without barriers or limitations. Next slide. All right, so I have the pleasure to introduce our CISA team members who are bringing this webinar to you today. My name is Jamie Brown, and I am a consultant with the College and Career Readiness Center at CISA 6. And I'll go ahead and have Katie introduce herself.
Good morning, Katie Firehelm, Educational Consultant in College and Career Readiness at CISA 11. And I've got my colleague Danny here with me, and she's running our slide deck. So she's sitting next to me, but I can have her pop over. And Danny is also an educational consultant, basically the same role. We just team up and tackle all of our projects together. So thanks for the introduction, Jamie. So I'm going to talk just for a few minutes about the value of family engagement. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for joining us at the St. Patrick's Day edition of the Academic and Career Planning College and Career Readiness Community of Practice. We're excited that you're joining us in the discussion of engaging families in career readiness. A component of academic and career planning in Wisconsin is family engagement. And as we know, a student's post-secondary college and career choices are often heavily influenced by their family. So naturally, it's a critical thing that parents are partners at the table when college and career opportunities are shared and decisions are made. So involving parents as partners in the education of their children will generally result in higher student achievement. So considering these strategies to ensure that families can set educational expectations for their children can improve behavioral outcomes. Parental involvement and support from teachers can lead to improved behavior from students. Using positive communication techniques with parents and students tends to build trust, and that helps to deal with behavioral issues. Improved emotional functioning. So parents' proactive communication with teachers is associated with decreased problem behaviors for adolescents, and engaging with parents before problems arise helps to ensure and increase the potential that students will experience positive behavioral outcomes. Improved social functioning, excuse me. So students with involved parents are more likely to exhibit cooperation, initiate positive peer interactions, and exhibit self-control in the classroom. Student attendance tends to increase with parental and family engagement, and those partnerships generally are increased higher student attendance rates. And finally, lower dropout rates. So dropout rates are tied to student self-concept, and parental involvement helps to strengthen the student image. So our research just shows that parental engagement has a significant and positive relationship with children's academic achievement. Want to swap spots?
So our next aspect is really thinking about how do we know what we know about how families feel engaged. And how we did this is within our regions, our CSAs have collected a number of data components for our Perkins grant through a comprehensive local needs assessment. And one of the areas that we focused on was parent engagement. So I thought one of the interesting points that was repeated extensively throughout the data was around communication with their students. There were a few parents that identified that they don't know what courses their kids are taking, or questions like, how do I get my kid to talk to me about their day, made the data. But more often they were comments like, I really enjoy having conversations with my daughters regarding the things that they've done and what they've learned in CTE classes, or students are learning new skills and getting involved with their community. And I think they're great. It helps students prepare for their future. So the challenges that were identified by parents commonly focused on the three areas of the first was the challenge of students fitting CTE classes into their schedule. The second was the limited number of CTE teachers in a district. And the third, lastly, was that districts are losing good teachers to careers outside of teaching. So in short, our data had a lot of quality information of parents wanting to see their students involved with quality teachers, enjoying things, being able to giving back to their community, and growing towards career success. So if anything was communicated the most, is that communication was the biggest focus in all of the parents' responses. And that's what we're going to address a lot today. I'm sure you have also seen a trend of family engagement at the elementary level is much higher and tends to drop off into middle and high school. So let's think about new ways to engage parents of older students. Today, we have fantastic partners that are going to share the different events and communications that are happening within their school districts. So a few of the wonderful speakers that we have are listed on our screen today, and all of them throughout the state do unique different ways to communicate and collaborate with their communities and families. And then we also have two members joining us from organizations that help give a product that addresses those needs and a quality way to communicate. So our first component, and I'm going to apologize to start with, we are having issues getting the sound to display, but all of you will have access to this. I would love for you to click into it. Melissa Hansen is from the River Falls High School, and they do an outstanding reach out within their communities and surrounding school districts. This is a full all area skills consideration. They have different careers that hit student interest based on surveys and quality data. And she does a fantastic job of going in and expressing more information on this. So please, when you have a few minutes, sit down and watch how Melissa and the River Falls High School explores college and career readiness.
Hi. Are we up?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Please
Okay.
go ahead. And if you want to give your little introduction, and then let us know if you want us to switch to the next slide for you, please.
All right, sounds good. So I'm Tiffany Galhar. I am the school counselor at Woodland Intermediate School in Kimberly, and I also oversee our ACP for the district. And
I'm Brad Demane. I am the counselor at J.R. Garrett's Middle School in Kimberly, which is a 7th and 8th grade middle school.
So as you see on our screen, we use this as our high level overview to kind of explain to our community the different parts of our ACP development for our students from, early age of kindergarten all the way through senior year. And this is kind of our guiding principles that we work towards at each level. So I want to click to the next slide. All right, so at the district level, we have our website that is one of our communication tools. And also at every level of our buildings, we utilize newsletters, which I'm sure many of you already do, and focus on our content area, kind of like I was showing you in the high level overview. So at the elementary level, it's an awareness of career clusters and specifically life skills that are highlighted for parents. So they'll send home like a separate from their school newsletter. So it stands out a little bit more to families. It doesn't kind of get lost in the hustle and bustle of everything else that comes through to parent emails. At the intermediate level, we also utilize the newsletter. And then we also have at the 6th grade level, we do these small groups called ACP iChats. And those are sent home to parents after a student meets with the school counselor and does one of our iChats. We send home the agenda from that meeting with the student. And then we also do kind of a summary for all parents through the newsletter as well. So we try to hit them through the student and through the newsletter. And then if you next slide.
And so at the middle school level, actually, this is actually probably a good one for you to go to.
Yeah, so I guess one of the things on our website here is we break down all of the different pieces of our ACP process by grade level and or school level. So you'll see on this one, this is a 5th grade example. We begin to identify strengths and interests with our students, and we'll incorporate a part for the parents. We'll encourage them to have a topic of discussion. We'll give them a prompt so that they can talk to their student and engage in that conversation around their interests and their strengths. So we do that for every level. And so if you went to our website, you could click on each of those things and it would kind of break it down that way. I don't know if you have to go backwards to get to Brad's level again, or if you, yeah,
there we go.
There we go.
I guess so at the middle school level, our primary focus is going to be exploring the individual career clusters. So over the course of our 2 years, our students would have 8 career clusters that they would learn pretty in depth about in their 7th grade year, and then they get the other 8 in their 8th grade year. And so we try to align our parent communication along with that to say, when we send out stuff home, to let parents know what career cluster are we currently investigating, what does that look like, what are upcoming career clusters that we're going to be talking about. We also talk about what types of questions could you be asking your child about this individual cluster. And so along with that, we have 8th grade individual conferences, getting them ready for high school and making the connection between career clusters and classes that they have available at the high school. And so there's, that type of communication happens from the very beginning of the year. And in terms of the actual student to parent communication, that takes place very strongly when they sit down for their conference. The child is the one who runs that, and they have everything ready to go. They have a presentation that they present, It's obviously helped facilitated by one of the two counselors in the building, but it's pretty much run by the students, and they take ownership of their interests of choice and kind of their thoughts on next steps going into high school.
Yeah, so that's one of the nice ways at that 8th grade level, the parents come in together with the student and the counselor to have that conversation. At the high school level, there's a bit of the same thing, like the newsletters for, all of us are doing that at every level. And then we have what's called My KHS story, My Kimberly High School story, that students begin developing their freshman year. And they share it, Google Doc to parents, so that parents have access to view as the students continue to work and reevaluate what are their plans, what are their hopes and choices they're making in classes and things like that is shared through their My KHS story. I think we have some examples of some of our communications on the next slide. Yep. So what are career clusters? That's an example from the elementary level that they share out to parents directly. 6th grade, that's just one of the examples that we use to share with parents about one of our iChats that we'll do when we talk about soft skills. And then to the far right, that's an example of one that the high school would send out to kind of give parents an overview again of what's going on at the high school. I think Brad has some on the next slide.
Mm-hmm. So this would be an example of different like flyers or newsletters that we would put out. We have a thing called Gator News. Our mascot's the Gator. So it's just our weekly newsletter that goes out, and every month we would put in the cluster of the month. So our cluster this month would be transportation, distribution, and logistics. So we have examples of different jobs within that cluster to help parents understand. But we also have questions about like, what could you ask your child about this cluster to kind of further this conversation? Because it's really going to sink in more if it's carried on at home, instead of just within our individual plan at school. But it also has different opportunities for parents to get involved as well. And that will kind of take us to the next slide, and I'll show you an example of how we're able to do that. So if you could click the next slide for me, I would appreciate that. There we go. So Community Connections is an event that we started about 5 years ago or so, but we really want to make sure it's a parent-based event where the parents come in, they talk about their job, but it's aligned with the different career clusters that we've covered. So if we start a year with 4 different career clusters, we ask parents to come in to talk about those 4 specific career clusters as a way to wrap up what they've already learned and a lot of the hard work that they've put in. So every picture you see here is an example of a parent that's come in and spoke to our students. It's kind of part of our culture now, to where this is just what we do 2 times a year. Parents come in, and the cool thing is we want to make sure that we can continue to have those parents come in year after year. So we've really developed a long list of parents that are willing to come back. They find that it's helpful. They find that it's engaging, meaningful to them. But they find that it's great. They want to get the message out. And we try to keep it open-ended for the parents to say, like, share what you feel is important for our kids to know. But the main message that they always say is find something that's going to be enjoyable and meaningful for you. That's the most important thing. And no matter what we do, that always seems to be what it comes back to. And that's really what the kids need to hear. So our Community Connections event is a great event that we've used many, many times. We've already run one this year.
Yeah, and another piece that the high school then is we have rotations of speakers as well that we have worked. I think this is the 2nd year they've been running these, where parents also come in to present for different careers, or maybe it's just different paths after high school, whether it's going to a college or whether it's going into the military. But we have guest speakers, then we kind of have a guest speaker series at the high school level as well. Different things can range from financial aid to how do I change my oil in my car, to health science careers. So it's really kind of a mix of things that students need, how to write a scholarship application letter, and so students get to pick what they want to go to and see. And we, again, have that good connection with the community that we are always able to have parents or other community members volunteering. I don't think we ever have a problem finding someone, which is great for our students and for our community.
Next slide, please. So I guess our last slide is probably the thing that was an epiphany to me this year, you know, especially when it comes to our 8th grade individual conferences. Our goal is to have all our families come in with their child to go through their plan for the high school. And it's, you know, we never reach 100%, you know, there's different factors about why, but we've noticed that this year was particularly difficult. There was, you know, as flexible as we tried to be in terms of providing, you know, electronic ways of participating or in-person ways of participating, and building in different times throughout the days that would try to make more flexibility for parents. We still found that there was still barriers out there. And so as we dug in to figure out, like, why is that? Why is this year different than other years? We found out that, or the initial research we did is showing us that there's just so much information that they're getting in our newsletters week after week that things get lost. It's impossible for parents to take the time to go and focus on every single little bit that's in there. And so we're realizing what sets us apart from everybody else. Like, how are they going to get our information, and how does that set us? How is that different from everything else that they're receiving week by week? So, you know, emails have been relatively helpful, but, you know, parents' emails change sometimes, and we're missing a lot that way. We have our Gator News that it always goes through. But the one change we're going to be making this year is we're going to be sending out an individual invitation, basically, to each family through the mail to say, here's the link, here's what this is, here's why it's helpful. Because when we get parents in the building, they say it's helpful, they say it's meaningful. It's just a matter of us getting them that information and know what they have to do to sign up. And we're also going to make some intentional phone calls to some families where we know there might be some barriers, and see if we can come up with some creative options to still get them involved as well. So that's kind of our big takeaway, I think, district-wide, is how can we set ourselves apart to make this more accessible for parents.
Yes, I saw a couple messages come through on the chat. So if you do want to reach out, please do, and we can share different pieces that you saw on the slides. Happy to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that information. Our next presenter is coming to us from Zello. As we know, Zello is an important partner in academic and career planning. And so we are lucky to have Andrew here to share a little bit and talk to us about how we can better engage with the resource. And Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And everyone should be able to see my screen at this point too. Again, hey, I feel like it's been a while and I've spoken to everyone here. Just to give everyone a little bit of an idea, I'll be short and I'll be brief, which is somewhat uncommon for my my presentation style for those that have been around me long enough. But the point of today is I just want to give everyone just a few quick tips on some of the items that we do have currently, mainly the family portal, which as the name implies is made to help parents keep track of a lot of what we're talking about today. I know we've mentioned things like course plans, or talking about, you know, lesson progress. All this information is accessible for parents currently, right? Assuming that they have an account in Zello, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we roll through this. But I do want to remind everyone, if you're looking for more information on this, or better yet, if you want to invite parents to a Zello training session during our fall training session. So the spring sessions are coming up. Some of you might have received invitations for that recently, but the fall training sessions, we have offered for the last couple of years a family session where we invite parents to come in and learn a little bit about Zello. So keep an eye out for that if you want to invite parents over to see what Zello is. They'll have to spend about 30 minutes with me, but that's a small sacrifice to make in order to get access to a platform like Zello. So I just want to throw it out there in case you're not feeling comfortable in, you know, explaining Zello or really demoing it from a parent's perspective. By all means, let them know that they can join us, and I'll share details for that come next fall. But I also want to say this, because we're talking about family members today. I'm assuming that a lot of us in the room are family members as well, right? Some of you may be parents yourselves. And some of you might be asking yourself, if you can have access to Zello for Families And the answer to that is yes, right? So even if you have a educator account in Zello, you also have the ability to be added as a parent. So if, one of your children is using Zello in grade 6 or in grade 7, you might be, an educator in grade 9 or 10. You still have the ability to be added as a parent. So you would virtually have two accounts, right? You'd have your educator account and your parent account that could be linked together. You log in once and it shows you all your different access. So I'm just throwing a bit of additional information out there to kind of give you an idea of the possibilities here. But to summarize the parent portal, and that's what I'm logged into. So for those that are maybe a bit unfamiliar with what I'm looking at right now, this is Zello for Families. So family member would log in, they would see their children's accounts listed on the main screen. Currently, I have one student that is added to my parent account. We even give them access to their children's demo account, or I should say their own demo account, but in the same grade as their children. So for those familiar with Zello, you're probably already familiar with your demo account, but parents have the ability to do just as you do, right? As an educator, they can log in, they can take a look at course plans for themselves, they can go through their own matchmaker, they can even see all the lessons that their children will be going through this current year. So they have full transparency in what their their children are going to be doing on a yearly basis. And I think that that's nice because it's kind of like sitting a parent down in math class or in biology, or, so that they can experience literally what their children are going to be experiencing through that year. So they have a full understanding of what's going on. But on top of this, as you might suspect, when a parent clicks on one of their children's names, and this I'm assuming will be familiar to a lot of you, but parents will see everything that's going on, right? So if they've completed things like their personality style, learning style quizzes, their current lesson progress. So I know a lot of us have mentioned already today that parents are looking for that transparency. They're looking for more information on what's going on, right? And it's difficult. I was a teacher. I know how hard it is to reach out to every individual parent and get that one-on-one feedback or get that one-on-one communication. This is, more or less your back door, right? You can show parents what their course plans look like. So a parent just needs to go in, they can take a look, and obviously my child hasn't done anything in this yet, but they can take a look at the high school graduation plan, what courses have been selected. They have access again to everything. Same goes with the lessons. I know we're using a lot of the lessons and the assignments, right? So lessons will be shown as complete or incomplete. Lesson progress is shown the same way. And for those familiar with the financial literacy lesson in Zello, parents can go in here and they can say, you know what, let me just take a look, right? I can take a look at these reflection answers where, my kid had to take a minute to answer something meaningful, right? It wasn't just multiple choice. And I can see here all these reflection questions. So I don't need to ask these questions, right? What size family are you expecting? Or how do you expect to handle most of your meals when you grow up? These are answers that the student has provided, right? I plan on eating takeout all the time, or I plan on backpacking across to another country. That's the type of travel that I want to do. And all the money that's involved in that for future trade-offs, what is it going to look like if I need to fix a bike, for example, and do I have enough money for my nest egg? All of these questions, and I'm showing you one example here, but all of these questions, the answers are provided there. So I just want to take a minute to highlight this today, that obviously there's more than just one aspect to college and career readiness, and Zello is just a piece of that puzzle. But to help maybe cross that bridge, giving parents an opportunity to be added to Zello for Families is maybe an easy first step, right? It's a first step that I've been recommending a lot of districts do right at the beginning of the year. And we have a lot of resources for those that are interested in our help tools. And I'll be glad to share those with everyone later. So that way, if you want to find your own presentation, right? Maybe your parents don't have the opportunity to join myself on a statewide session. Maybe you want to host something at the school level. We have presentations and slide decks that are pre-built. You can take them, you can model them however you need, and then feel free to host your own parent nights. And as always, I'm always happy to help out. So if anyone here needs a hand on prepping anything like that, or you have questions about the platform itself, I'll be sticking around for today's session. So by all means, feel free to ask your questions. I'll be around to answer them, but always feel free to, join us on a training session or send me an email and I'll do the best I can to fill any need that's there. So back to you, Katie.
All right, thank you very much. You have a wealth of information that you packed into that 4 or 5 minutes. So thank you, Andrew, and you're always so easy to get a hold of that we appreciate your availability. Our next presenter comes to us from Secure Futures. And Jennifer, with that, I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. So yes, I'm Jennifer Andreas. I'm a consultant here at Secure Futures. For those that might not be familiar with us, although I think I've been reaching out to so many of you, cold calling, as well as, hitting your inboxes on a regular basis. We're nonprofit based here in Wisconsin. We've been doing financial literacy programming for teens for about 15 years. And today I'm just going to talk a little bit more about how we see Moneypath being a catalyst for conversation with families. So I'm just going to share my screen quick. And mainly this is just to show you where you can find out more information on Moneypath, but we know that far too many students receive that financial education in partnership with career exploration. So that's sort of where Moneypath comes in and bridges that gap. It allows the students to evaluate how their choices will impact their life and long-term financial health. So they explore and compare the different college and career paths. They investigate higher education costs. They build financial knowledge and skills through an experience of life after high school. Moneypath is unique in that it's a customized experience. So really each individual student sets up their own path based on their choices. And what's really great is that it allows for students to customize whether they're going straight into the workforce, if they're going into military, if they're going into college, or into apprenticeship. So they can create those paths. And so once they build those paths, that's really an opportunity then to engage families. So I'm fortunate enough to be living and breathing this right now. I have a junior in high school. And so we are knee deep in, exploration for post-secondary. And I kind of tell you how we use Moneypath and how I see it fitting in. So really ideally, Moneypath fits really nicely in the junior and senior years. However, we have a lot of schools that are starting to engage students even at that 9th and 10th grade level, just getting them exposed to the tool, because once they create an account in Moneypath, they have it for a lifetime. We also have huge expansion right now into the college realm. So Mount Mary is going to be exposing Moneypath to all of their students in the coming year. We're on UWM campus, and we're also partnering with the Milwaukee School of Engineering. So it's really great to see that even though the students manage to get into the colleges, they still need this critical tool for financial planning as they go into their careers. So where I see it ideally at the junior year is, if these students, depending on their past, it can be the first time that if they share their past with their parents, it could be the first time they have that critical conversation about what budgets are going to look like or how we're going to pay for post-secondary. So I've kind of been joking as I've been presenting that, you have that first conversation with your kids about the birds and the bees. Get through that, and then it's like the reality, okay, let's have that real conversation about how we're anticipating paying for post-secondary. I know when I had my son go through it, we had never had the conversation about okay, where are you guys falling in the salary range? How is that going to impact my financial aid package? And so we had to have that conversation. We talked about, here's what we have in our EdVest account that's going to help in that budget, but you're going to have some student loan debt, and let's see how that looks with the career choice that you have. Now, for us as a family, we've been a little bit, I think, further ahead than a lot of families, especially at the junior level, in that my son has known that he wants to be a pilot for a few years. He also plays baseball and wants to play collegiately. So we started that career exploration early on. So going into junior conferences this year, was an interesting experience because we're done with exploration. We know where we are. And so we were able to go in with this counselor and say, these are the 5 schools that we're looking at. Here's what we know as far as costs and expectations. Talk to us about, scholarship opportunities. How do we help offset that student loan debt that he's going to have? And then what are some tools that you have for us pertaining to some of these schools that he's at? So we were able to partner that with what he's done in Naviance and be able to see those schools that, you know, he really ideally fit with. And we scheduled up college visits based on those two tools together. So I think it's a great first step at that point. I see it coming in the senior year, pre-FAFSA. We know that so many families, and especially those in our under-resourced communities, FAFSA is intimidating and many don't understand it and the impact that it has on students. Doing Moneypath, setting up and seeing that financial plan for their students and the impact that the FAFSA has on that financial plan is critical and can maybe, you know, again, be that catalyst for a conversation of like, okay, this is why we need to complete this. And this is why we're going to be coming at you as parents, looking for that personal information to fill that application out. And again, then post FAFSA, as students right now, we're working with seniors who are getting their award letters back. They can go in and actually put in that actual data now from their award letters, see their real budget, see their real student loan debt, and see what that's going to look like then when they graduate in their budget and then their long-term financial goals. So really, it is an amazing tool, I think, to engage that family conversation. And kind of like Andrew, you know, this is what we do. If you are interested in learning more, testing it out, even with some students, if you want to pilot it, we can always set you up that way too. But you know, we're here, and I'll drop my email in, but you can also visit the website, moneypath.securefutures.org, which is on your screen. Play around. You can see all of our outcomes and where we're headed. I will tell you that for those maybe starting to plan for going into fall, we're going to have version 3 of Moneypath released, some great enhancements, more robust data in it, and then some additional tools and resources to really help students. Like I said, those that, you know, experience it at 9th and 10th grade, like what that progression looks like, and some activities for both our counselors and personal finance teachers to incorporate through that progression. So thank you for allowing me to be here, and it's great to see some faces from, you know, all those emails I send and those who are doing Moneypath that I don't always get to see. So appreciate the time this morning.
You did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. We had a question, actually 2 questions in there. And one of them was asking about middle school exploration, and if we're going to go down to the younger students for their career success. And then one that Karen popped in and answered of is there any cost to it? So do you have any plans at this time to be looking at middle school career and financial exploration?
That's not really our wheelhouse. We really are at that high school level. I think that's where, you know, because so much of that is still focused on career exploration in terms of ACP. So that's really where I feel like, you know, Zello and those other tools come in, because those students are still in the career exploration. Obviously, if we can take, you know, personal finance down into the middle school, we do have curriculum. Most of it's still geared towards that 9th through 12th grade, but you know, there are other tools. Even Next Gen offers some great resources as well. But we will stay, Moneypath really is ideally in that high school setting. And it is free to every student and educator in the state of Wisconsin, thanks to our generous donors. So yeah, use it as much as you want.
Wonderful. And then Brian threw in just a little cookie of information for us. And he says something else really important financially for students with disabilities is for them to receive a potential DVR training grant to help fund some of their post-secondary tuitions. They must apply for FAFSA. This gets missed very often for students with IEPs. So thank you, Brian, for pointing that out. That's a fantastic tidbit of information. And Jennifer, you do an outstanding job. I look forward to seeing your work progress and your 3rd edition popping out here in next fall.
Thanks, Kate.
Absolutely. So our next speaker is Roy, and he must have gotten held up within his prep today. So he has not joined us yet. So just, I do apologize. I was really looking forward to hearing more about, they have a phenomenal program up in Webster, but you guys all know as educators that prep sometimes get a little messy. So instead, I'm gonna pop it back over to Jamie to talk a little bit about communications and messaging.
All right, that sounds great, Danny. So just a few takeaways and reminders about the importance of engaging parents in the career readiness process. We definitely encourage you within your own individual school districts. As we mentioned, important to take a look at data that has been collected through surveying parents, through anecdotal conversations, really finding out how parents prefer to receive communications, and then making sure that we are utilizing those forms of communication. So we know in some school districts, parents report that they really prefer to receive newsletters so that they can easily go back and refer to the information provided in those newsletters. In other districts, that form of communication might not work well. So really paying attention to locally, what are the preferences of your parents? We want to make sure that parents have access to the information to know what is taking place in the academic and career planning process, and have access to those tools and resources as they are relevant to their child. So think about how can we provide the information in a timely manner where parents can refer back to it when their child is in need of that information. And then certainly provide questions and information about how parents can generate conversation. So it was nice to see from Andrew in Zello how parents can really take a look at what their child is engaged in and what responses they're providing to some of those open-ended questions throughout the lessons that students are completing. And nice example of how we can incorporate guiding questions for parents in newsletters and other communication that we're sending home. So again, parents are equipped to know how to have these conversations in the home, what questions to ask to really gain an understanding of where their child is at in their career readiness process. I think another important factor to consider and take a look at is what resources do we have available on our website? So again, we do need to make sure that access to information is available to parents when they need it. And so just taking a moment to evaluate the ease of access of those resources that are on our websites. Many times there's great resources available there, but sometimes parents may have to go through multiple clicks to get there. So really strategizing, how do we bring that information and those resources to the forefront so they are easily accessible? So just a few reminders, and then always, you probably walk away from webinars feeling like you need to try to boil the ocean. I think the underlying message that we want everyone to take away today is just start small. Start with something that's manageable, that your academic and career planning team has the time and the capacity to take a step forward with. Some resources, many of them that you heard about today are free, but others such as, building a website might take a little bit of funding to support that, certainly staff members' time in order to build those kinds of resources out. So bottom line, find out what might work well for your district, for your parents, and then take small steps toward implementing some communication strategies to get parents involved in those career readiness conversations. All right, and I'll kick it back to Katie.